The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on Sunday.
This is about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
Oh, guns up, giddy up. Welcome to Fair to Stop, the #1 show where police meets society and culture. We do 4 shows a week on this channel. Today's show happens to be Last Call, the show that gives you something else to talk about this weekend other than dead babies and domestic violence, giving you all the other news other than the job. With me today, as always, is my cohort and head researcher, research and development, intel officer, retired PD guy, Deadleg Media, Josh from Deadleg. Thanks for coming on again with me, Josh. Love you as always, brother.
Aloha Friday. It could be
like
Friday for somebody.
It's Friday for somebody. I like the purple ambiance behind you. It's very non-misogynistic.
Well, we got a little blue, a little red, and then the purple in the middle.
I love it, dude. I love it. Today we're talking about who is Andrew Tate, some other weird news that's coming on. Today's show is brought to you by ghostbed.com/Wolfpack. Valentine's Day is right around the corner. Go get you a bed for that loved one of yours. Support. Nobody cares about your bullshit chocolates or your oversized teddy bear that's going to be in the way the rest of your life. Get a Ghost Bed pillow, right? Get a Ghost Bed cooling sheets. Get the Ghost Bed adjustable base. Get the mattress. Get it all, baby, and use that promo code Wolfpack, which gets you 35% off. 35% off, man. It's a banger of a Valentine's Day gift. One up your lover. If you want to support the show, please go leave us a rating and review on iTunes. Please. Trying to make the charts. We've launched Filler Stop 2.0 now, and so everybody's firing. We got new internet and everything, but hey, to keep these sponsors going, keep money flowing so that we can grow the show, we need you to go and just leave us a rating and review. Or you can be a paid subscriber on our YouTube channel, which gets you backdoor access to shows like today. Sometimes I go live before the live show and hang out with people behind the stage. I'm going to do that next week. Couldn't do it this week. I was too busy. But there's some other opportunities there if you become one of the paid subscribers as we get that all organized going into the new year. We really do want to spend some time and get some stuff ramped up for the summer for that. But really the most important thing that you can do is go leave us a rating and review on Spotify or iTunes. As far as the news goes, Com Center will be out tomorrow with a new call-in episode, so go and support those guys as they're trying to grow that new show right here on this Filler Stop channel. Of course, Night Shift, True Crime Tuesdays with Andrea is always on fire. But let's jump into today's news, shall we, Josh?
Let's go for it.
How are you doing today, Josh? Still snowed in?
Yeah, they closed Denver. They closed last
done.
night. They closed it last night, actually. My wife
Not
got
open
the
for
text and said,
business.
"Yep,
No flights in, no flights out?
I haven't checked the airport. I'm pretty sure they're closed. The city of Denver, the entire government shut down for today.
Denver, gorgeous. Sunshine State.
It's hard to leave when it looks so pretty.
Really? Well, speaking of airplanes, I don't know if they've shut it down. On January 3rd, an airline ground crew in Montgomery, Alabama died after being ingested into the engine of the airplane. Ingest is just another good word for this for all you C student first responders out there. Ingested just means he got sucked into the fucking engine. Sucked right into that bad boy. That's disgusting. I can't imagine. I've heard of this happening. Now, there's a cool video that came out years ago when YouTube was in its infancy of a man on an aircraft carrier that gets sucked through the jet turbine and just happens to miss everything. And he comes out the other side whole. You seen that video?
I remember that. Remember, I think we watched it in basic training way back in the day. They
Way
were showing it with all the other cool videos that you got to see in basic training.
Bro, that's it. That's all I need. I would never swear again. I would never drink another drop of alcohol. I probably would become a nun.
I mean, I wonder how it happened, because those things, they have standoff distances and specific things to make sure that that doesn't happen. But yet here it goes.
Yeah, I mean, this is a statement provided to NPR. By this way, this article comes from npr.org. It said it has opened an investigation into the death. The incident involved an Embraer 170 aircraft, a medium-range jet that can hold 70 passengers. It had flown from Dallas-Fort Worth to the Montgomery Regional Airport. The victim, he was employed by Piedmont Airlines, which is a subsidiary of American Airlines. And freaking just got sucked into that bad boy and is dead as a result of it. And they said in about 3 weeks, so about a week from today, we'll have a little bit more news on it. The investigation is supposed to be cleared up, but you can see those jets from the terminal.
Yep.
So that means somebody saw this happen.
I'm gonna get there's probably security camera footage someplace.
Now, does he come out just in pink mist, or does he come out in clumps? Does it all just clog up the engine and doesn't come out the other side? Does just red mist come out the other side and his body gets I don't know much about aircraft, but
I have a lot of I have a lot of free time because of my medical stuff. So I'm awake a lot of the hours, and I spend a lot of time on YouTube. When they certify a jet engine to go into the air, they throw all kinds of crap at it, like frozen large birds that weigh like 10, 20, 30 pounds. They throw several of them at these things. And then they take really high-speed cameras of when it hits to show how many blades get hit, which one's deformed. But most of the time, it's all missed. It's so fast, and there's so much pressure, and it's so hot. You just turn to pink mist.
Wow, dude, that's crazy. Davey in the chat says, anyone else unable to switch to live chat? The drop-down menu isn't working for me. There's a lot of people in the live chats today. We got James Russell, Hydroman Blue, Jay Keefe 21, who's coming to visit the distillery in April. Might just do a whole meetup for the Keefe. Might roll out the red. We are going to roll with the red carpet, but might just make a full meetup of it as soon as we lock down the dates. Right now, it looks like it's April 9th through like the 14th, something like that. So if anybody wants to come and get a hotel and everybody wants to book rooms down here in Clayton, I'll roll out the red carpet at the distillery, make a big to-do about the whole thing. We'll see what happens. I can't imagine seeing that. I can't imagine my kids seeing that. What a tragic way to go. Imagine calling calling the loved ones for that one. Like, sorry, your husband died at work today. How? He got sucked through a jet engine.
Not to make light of 9/11 or anything, but I remember watching 9/11 on TV, and it looked like a movie. So I can only imagine if seeing something like that in real life, that it will almost take you a little bit to comprehend what you're actually seeing.
Yeah. I wonder what the sound was.
It's probably a big, quick thud. And then a lot of red mist.
Jay Keefe 21, who's a fireman chief, something like that. He's a big to-do in Cincinnati. We have a great podcast too. One more and I'm out of here podcast. We have GE here in Cincy that makes most jet engines. They paint every blade a different color, so after the birds hit, they can see what damage was done. Oh, that's very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, that stuff is crazy, man. It's like, I used to like 1,000 Ways to Die. Before it was a TV show, I actually had a bathroom reading book. This was before cell phones. When you used to remember the bathroom books,
yep,
they were at the checkout line of like every single grocery store. Yeah, the real thin,
they're like an inch or two thick, but they almost look like a Bible, but not really a Bible.
Yeah, and it's just like shit that you can read while you're on the toilet. And one was called 1,000 Ways to Die, and so there was a lot of really crazy ways to die, obviously. But this one, man, at least this one is probably painless. I would have to imagine.
Say it's probably quick.
Very quick. But I bet you when you leave your feet, you're like, fuck.
I don't even know at that point. I don't know that you would have time to understand what it would just be so quick. You'd be there, and all of a sudden you're gone.
Just gone from this world. Oh, I just can't imagine seeing it. Like from the terminal, I'd be like, man, I ain't fucking getting on an airplane today.
We got to think about, because the FAA is going to get involved in NTSB. They're going to do their investigation. Just think of how large the crime scene spread was going to be, because you got the jet blast from behind that's going hundreds, if not thousands of feet behind the jet.
You know, what's crazy is there was a homeless girl when I worked as a cop, and I know we're not supposed to talk about cop shit on the show, but anyway, she wanted to kill herself, so she got herself into a sleeping bag and laid out onto the highway at like 4 a.m, and just like all these trucks hit it, and everybody just thought they were hitting a deer until somebody like called in at like 7 a.m, like when the sun came up, and was like, I think there was a human being, like there's parts of human being on the highway. And the crime scene was like 4 exits, you know, like an exit's like a mile apart. Like it was crazy. They found her pelvis with like a little tampon still stuck in it. Just absolutely disgusting. But we're not here to talk about dead babies and domestic violence. We're here to talk about airplane workers that get sucked into the jet engines. Damn, dude. Damn. I guess if you're listening to this podcast and you work around airplanes, don't be that guy. Don't be the guy that gets sucked into the fucking jet engine and blown out the other side. Because that seems like a terrible, terrible way to go.
Keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah. Keep your head on a swivel. Yeah. Keep your feet on the ground. You know.
Yeah.
Stay firmly grounded. 2023. This was there's some predictions that were made in 1923. So this gentleman found a newspaper article that was written in 1923 that was predicting what life would be like 100 years later. Have you seen this article, Josh?
No.
Very cool article. Very cool. So he finds a newspaper article where they went and had other editors. Remember back in the 1923. Actually, there's a show out called 1923 right now. It's the sequel to 1883, the Yellowstone beginnings.
Oh yeah,
very good series. And now the next one is 100 years later, which is 1923. So very, very cool. But life revolved around newspapers. So there were lots of newspaper editors. There was lots of newspaper reporters. They were everywhere because that's the way news traveled, through the new world. And so one newspaper had several columnists and editors kind of put in their 2023 predictions. They got some colleges to kind of pitch in with this and give their projections of 2023, and it's a little bit different than what you think, right? Like what would you think they would predict in 1923? Remember, this is a time of prohibition, the ending of the World War, just about to jump into World War II, not quite there yet.
So you've got electricity's coming in, becoming the big thing.
Refrigerators are just coming out in New York at this time.
Get cars are just becoming around.
The wash machine, just it was invented in 1923.
Yeah, I'd think a lot of things with like technology or like industrial, because around those times you've got a lot of industrial growth in the world. Just because you got wars fund a lot of advancement,
which is why we need war. That's why we need Russia right now. That's why we need Russia and Ukraine. That's why we're involved.
Unofficially.
Yeah. Fuck, dude. They're making so much money hand over fist over that war.
I can't confirm or deny, but I've heard rumors that we have our own special operators on the ground in country.
I mean, that's always the case. But it's not wide scale enough. I'm actually I'm still really into that community, especially my business partner and stuff like that. And not as much as you'd think. But it looks like we are making lots of like industrial moves on it, right? Like selling lots of, making Northrop Grumman, KBR, Kellogg Brown Root, all those companies, getting those works. Now there's probably a lot of private contractors over there, I would guess.
Yeah, there was a YouTube channel that I watched. I'll have to find it. I'll send it to you. His videos are usually 5 to 6 months after, but he was, I think he was in the Army, then he was in the Marines, and then he's got several combat deployments, and then he did guerrilla fighting with Iran, I think, and then he's been spent time in Ukraine and stuff. But he's got some really cool I would say cool, but really firsthand combat footage to explain how it, because I mean, you've been there, you know what it's like, that you got 10 minutes or 5 seconds of chaos and 3 hours of sheer terror just in silence. But he is able to depict that in his videos, but he's had stuff on the ground as a guerrilla contractor.
I have been watching a lot of that stuff on TikTok, actually. A lot of really good war videos on TikTok from this Ukraine thing. But anyway, this is what these guys predicted, right? One writer predicts the complete eradication of cancer, tuberculosis, polio, and leprosy, and locomotor ataxia. I don't know what locomotor ataxia is.
I guess because we don't know it, that they did 4 out of the 5 ain't bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. Leprosy's pretty much gone. Polio's gone. Locomotor ataxia has got to be gone. Tuberculosis, that's gone, right?
Pretty much. I mean, you get your TB test, but if you have it, it's not life-threatening.
It's not a
anymore.
thing. Like, people aren't dying of fucking TB.
No, you don't have to. Because back then you had getting the big lung things, the big container things. Yeah. And is that the same thing? Or I'm thinking
that was polio.
Polio.
Yep. That was the iron lung. Yep.
The iron lungs. That's right.
Yep. Another headline: fewer doctors, and fewer diseases, and everybody is beautiful. All people are beautiful. Now that's weird because he's not the only one that talks about the beauty of human beings in 2023. So I'm guessing people really, really paid attention and valued looks in 1923 because there was about 3 predictions about how beautiful the people were. One person says beauty contests will be unnecessary as there will be so many beautiful people that it will be almost impossible to select winners. The same will apply to baby contests. Little do they know that we'd be fat as fuck and super lazy and have spokespeople like Greta Thunberg. Yeah, not everybody's very pretty.
I think WALL-E, that movie WALL-E, remember it? I think it's closer to an actual prediction.
So accurate. People putting on those little virtual reality goggles and metaverse stuff, man. Ugh.
Well, they had CES was last week or a couple weeks ago. It's like the big, it's like SEMA for tech stuff.
Right.
And it had all kinds of like chairs that had screens that you could ride in and you do all of this other stuff. So I'm like, yeah, we are closer to WALL-E than. But it's crazy that back then, though, that they thought like beauty.
Yeah. Beauty was a big one, dude. Beauty was a big one. Some focus on personal grooming and style trends that made it standard beauty for stuff. One guy says that men will start curling their hair. This one was pretty interesting. And that there will be no difference between masculinity and feminism.
They're trying.
That's pretty right. That's pretty close.
I mean, they're trying.
I don't understand what this one means in the article, though. This is one quote from the article from one of the writers. Also, the maidens may pronounce it the height of style and personal primping to blacken their teeth. It won't be pretty. I don't know what that means at all.
I know people whiten their
teeth.
I've never heard of blackening your teeth.
One person says the average lifespan could reach 100 years.
That's not far off.
A lot of people are living to 100.
We had a.
Then he goes on to say certain individuals could make it to 150 or even 200 years old.
I don't know that that's.
Another one says he puts the average at 300 years old.
Would you want to be here for 300 years, though?
I mean, I believe in heaven and I believe in God and I'm a Christian, so no. But I guess if you didn't believe in that and you thought there was just going to be nothing after this, which is a fucking depressing way to go about life. Yeah, I mean, I guess you'd want to go for 300 years.
I mean, you've got Canada that's offering assisted suicides and all these other countries that offer this stuff. But then you've got us making predictions 100 years ago that we're going to be 300 years old.
The expected lifespan of someone born in the U.S. At this time had decreased to 76. Oh, wait. This is of this year. The average person lives 76.4 years, which is the shortest it's been in 2 decades.
gonna say I thought it was in like the low 80s.
Yeah,
It?
no, it's
Low
the
to
shortest
mid-80s?
it's ever been right now. Well, they created the COVID thing to kill off all the old people. So
Yep.
in the last few years. And another optimistic outlook, mathematician and electrical engineer Charles Stinsmetz predicted that people would spend even less time working. And he said the average workday would be about 4 hours.
If you work for a tech company,
I mean, most companies, I mean, you think about it, you probably, even if you're a cop and you work for 12 hours, you're probably actually only putting in hard work for about 4.
sometimes you just need a physical body. You need a pulse. You need someone to sit in a car and watch something.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, a lot of time, there's a lot of time you spend fucking off watching YouTubes, watching a dead body.
Trying to catch a breather between calls.
Ones. Naturally, there will also be advances to dream about in science and technology. One writer proposed that people will be wearing kidney cozies. I don't know what that is, which is teapot cozies for one's internal organs. I don't know.
I mean, does colostomy bag count?
Maybe. Predicted that gasoline will be the motive for power. The gasoline will be replaced by radios in 2023. The skies will be filled with myriad craft sailing over well-defined routes. So
yeah,
we have airplane, like
and on air, very defined routes.
Yeah. Polar airline. That would be airlines that would be able to travel to the North Pole.
We've got ones to go up there. I don't know about the North Pole, but we have on the South Pole.
Yeah. Let's see, anything else cool in here?
That's crazy that they're like, some of it's not that far off, but I wonder if what they were envisioning when they wrote that is what we came to do, because if we had to go back, if you had to go back 150 years and explain what the iPhone is to somebody.
Well, I read in one of the articles, I can't find it right now, but one guy said that radios will be the size of a watch.
Yeah.
And can be worn as such, but I can't find the exact quote, which
is just
true.
I mean, 1960s was when we put people on the moon, and back then you had computers that took up the size of rooms, like small houses were what your computer was.
And they didn't have any computers in 23.
Yeah. I mean, it was just radios was the thing that they were thinking of.
That's crazy, right? Okay, so let me ask you this before I jump on to the next thing, before we get into this, who is Adam Tate? We got about 7 more minutes to get through this segment because I want to spend some good time on this whole Adam Tate thing. What are your predictions 100 years from now? Where do you see Earth 100 years from now? If somebody finds this podcast and they go through it, what would you say, and give them something to talk about? That'd be going on 100 years from now.
I would say within the next.
How about this? How about we do it this way? You give one prediction, I'll give one prediction. We'll just keep going back and forth till we run out.
All right. So my first one will be we will become an interstellar species. We will have people living on the moon, or we will have people living on Mars in some sort of colony form.
Okay. I think we'll be talking to each other via earpieces, where there will be no more microphones, and you can talk to somebody at any time, anywhere in the world, any second, just like normal conversation.
I would think along that same lines that if the Neuralink stuff that Elon's talking about with integrating stuff into your brain, because just like me, like right now, as I'm sitting right here, I have a medical implant device that has wires that run up my spine, and it operates 24/7, and it records all kinds of stuff, but it helps mass signals that go to my brain. So we have that now. I would think that it would just get more advanced.
Yeah. What do you think? Okay. I predict that everybody will be extremely skinny because technology will have evolved to maximize nutrition. And everybody that's fat now will not be fat 100 years from now. Obesity will be disgusting again in 100 years. It's celebrated now. We love fat people right now. We love being fat. We like making excuses for being fat. And this is coming from a fat kid. Like, I am a fat boy by nature. I was 223 pounds 2 weeks ago. Like, I love food. I love sweets. I love shit eating. I'm a fat kid at heart. So, but I also never have taken pride in being fat. I've always been little bit, well, that's not true. I mean, I was shredded as fuck when I was in the military, but since I've been out of the military, I've always been like kind of, you know what? I'm like the Patty Pembroke. Like, I get really shredded and then I get really fat again. But I think 100 years from now, you won't have fatness. It'll be shamed again.
I think there will have been another global conflict between now and then.
Oh, for sure.
We will have been in some global war. And
easy there, Josh Radomus. Like, now you're cherry picking.
The semblance of government and how we operate will have greatly changed.
Yeah.
I think it'll be more, not to sound too out there with the conspiracy, but it'll be more global. The global think idea will become more prevalent.
Yeah. Oh, I think we'll all be speaking the same language or working towards speaking the same language, which is also biblical for the end times. Everybody's got to speak the same language, I guess. Which is kind of like, we're already on that path of speaking the same language, just because like you can hit translate on Facebook, like super quick. And okay. So another prediction for myself is flying cars. I think that's a thing 100 years from now. They're going to start getting off the ground. That,
or if, not to bring aliens too much into it, what was his name? Bob Lazar, the guy from Area 51 from back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about one of the things that he was working on to try to figure out was anti-gravity, because that makes your ability to travel because one of the problems from like getting to the moon or getting to Mars or getting out of our solar is just distance. Like, it would just take too long to get to other places. But if we are able to figure out how to travel at faster speeds, I think that we might be scratching that within the next 100 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody says in the chat, so John from Com Center says, nuclear war. That's a possibility. I like to hope that humanity doesn't pull that trigger. I mean,
you might have one or two, but after, like, people,
I'd have to think that people are more concerned. I think that's an all-in that nobody's willing to take.
Because you need someone that's just a tiny bit crazy that has their finger on the switch.
And then other people that know, like, if we knew that they were that crazy, like, you think for 1 second, if Putin, if we really thought, if like our government really thought Putin was crazy enough to try to nuke us, that motherfucker wouldn't be dead already.
Yep.
Like, with all the drone power, with all the shit that we have, you really think if we were worried about Putin or Kim Jong-un that we wouldn't have already killed those dudes?
The mutually assured destruction is a real thing.
I think they all know. I think they're all in bed together. I think they're all just kind of doing shit.
Well, they're at that forum right now.
Yeah,
World Economic Forum. Yeah, they're all planning how they're going to spend all the billions that we sent over to Ukraine, right?
Yeah, and also Event 201, which is sponsored by the World Economic Forum, is taking place, which is that whole new COVID thing that's supposed to come out of Brazil and blah, 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 blah. But like, speaking of which, we're going, what's that?
Like, I remember we participated in like drills of things, like,
yeah,
for like plane crashes or a mass shooting at an event with, you know, mass victim. You try to, we would do these things, but some stuff that and it comes out and it's almost like verbatim exactly what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, dude, the new Twitter files that just came out, I did a reel on that on my Eric Tansey official page, but you know, that literally Pfizer biotech literally paid $1.5 million alone to Twitter to squash it all, and lobbied with the German government and UK lobbyists to say, like, we'll take fucking social media out of Europe if you don't make biotech and Pfizer the #1 vaccine. And they literally have proof that they squashed any other competitor to biotech and Pfizer and wrote it off as fake news or misinformation when they were generic brands, which all vaccines have, like generic Viagra, like your generic
Cialis.
brands, Blue Chew, Hims, Cialis, all that shit. That's diabolical, man. That's like people that could, when ivermectin, that they said that like ivermectin was a remedy and it could have saved a lot of lives, and they had that squashed for the sake of making fuck tons of money. They squashed the ivermectin thing, which was absolutely 100% true. And that's diabolical. That's super evil, gross. Just, I can't even fathom how the fact that we're not all as one marching down to biotech or Pfizer and stringing them up. Honestly, like, I mean, how many people died because we didn't give them ivermectin? A fuck ton of people died. And ivermectin could have saved that life. Listerine could have saved that life. There's so many other remedies and things that could have helped cause and prevent COVID deaths, but they were all squashed by big pharma. That's crazy to me that we have allowed that to happen.
Because what gets to the point where they've got so much money that now you're caught, and then what's the outcome? Like, nothing's happened, where they get fined. So if you,
they won't even get fined. Their fine goes right back to them because they probably own the company that fines them.
If you whatever their profits were for the past 2 years, you take that and 2% of that goes to the fine. So they still made billions of dollars. Like, it's one of those where I'm okay. We're going to go through the fire because on the other end I know that I'm going to be okay. Like, there's no
recourse.
There's no accountability. There's no consequences.
All right. Well, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about here with this whole Andrew Tate thing. I don't know Andrew Tate. I've never listened to him. I've never heard an interview with him at all. I've only seen what the headlines is. I do question the headlines because I feel like anytime the headlines is trying to invoke your emotions, they're lying to you. So anytime they use like big, giant keywords, the more keywords they use that make you upset, the more likely it is that they're lying. And any Andrew Tate article I read is nothing but hate-fueled, fiery sentences that I perceive to be taken out of context. I think if you were to go back through my podcast and take out sentences and try to paint a picture just on those sentences and not the totality of what I said, I would probably look like a bigot. I'd probably look like I was a misogynistic asshole because I do make a lot of off-putting jokes. And if you take those jokes out of context, then I would look like a real dirtbag. Also, if you say anything that I've said about race or anything like that, if you just pulled one sentence and not the rest of the paragraph, I would probably look extreme. Just like with Joe Rogan and his inward thing, if you just take the sentences that he used and not the entire context, I could see how Joe Rogan looks pretty bad. And we all know that whole Joe Rogan thing was 100% because Joe Rogan was saying what we know now, which is that Big Pharma was completely playing games with our society and culture. So a lot of people owe a big apology to Joe Rogan and Dr. McCullough and Dr. Malone, because they were 100% correct on that interview. And so I don't know if that's the case with Andrew Tate. Now, listen, from what I've read, the guy sounds like a real piece of shit. Also, anybody that's that egotistical and that kind of pompous that puts himself out like that, fuck them. They get what they deserve, right? It's like the little whore that fucked 5 dudes at work. Yeah, I said it. She's a little whore. And the guys that cheated on her, they're little fucking shrimp dicks too. Anybody that involves themselves in that, they're not good human beings. And maybe they should repent and they should come out and publicly say that they're sorry. But let's face it, this one chick fucked 5 dudes. These 5 dudes fucked one chick. And I'm not saying it's any worse than what she did, but that's the reason why we call her a whore at this point. But with this girl doing these things, you know what I'm saying here?
There's not a place that I've worked at.
Sure.
That something similar is either come out or hasn't officially come out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not like it's a secret. Like everybody else in that industry is like, yeah, we know. But another thing is it discredits the badge. You're trying to be a professional.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that, like, if you're like Andrew Tate, we're like this whore and whatever the fuck Tennessee it is, whatever. If you're going to fuck around so much, you have to know that you are eventually going to find out. And all I've seen with Andrew Tate is him completely poking the bear at every corner. You think you're going to poke the bear long enough, it's going to bite you back. It's not that this chick slept with 5 dudes that makes her a terrible human being. It's the fact that she slept with 5 dudes who happen to also be supervisors, who also happen to be married, who she also happened to be married, who they all happen to work for the same department, who also happen to be at work. It's the totality of the whorish behavior that you have to know eventually is going to catch up to you. You want to have a little threesome behind closed doors with another man's wife and whatever, because you guys are just trying to figure life out or whatever. And you want to keep that. Okay. Right. Everybody makes a little, everybody's going to do their own explorations. Everybody's going to do their own thing. Okay. That's not what she did. Right. You might want to cheat on your husband one time and you make that mistake and you go back and you fix it. Right. Everybody makes mistakes. I get that. Right. I don't think you should be publicly shamed for the rest of your life and become a meme because you cheated on your wife one time. I don't condone cheating behavior, but I understand how it happens. Right. I understand like the temptation problem, the excitement. I get all of that. I'm fine. I'm fine with all of it. But it's the totality. This girl is a bad person. She went out to do bad shit. Just like any thug on the street that does a lot of bad shit. Just because you're a gang member doesn't make you a bad person. What makes you a bad person is that you're a gang member, that you steal, that you hit women, that you also listen to shitty music super loud so that everybody around you can hear it. It's the fact that you go around and you bully other people as you walk around the grocery stores and you put guns up. That's what makes you a terrible person. It's not that she slept with one dude or one married guy that makes her a bad person. What makes her a bad person is the totality of all of it. And she totally gets what she deserves. I feel the same way with Andrew Tate. I don't know Andrew Tate. Like I said, I've never heard an interview. I don't know anything. But like I've seen enough to know that this guy pokes the bear. Another perfect example, Brittany Griner. Like I don't feel sorry for Brittany Griner. I mean, I feel bad, like it sucks, right? But you have to know, and I've said this before, if my son fucks with a snake and the snake bites my son, I don't blame the snake. I think my son's an idiot because he fucked with a snake that he shouldn't have fucked with and now he's gotten bit. Am I still going to kill the snake? Sure. Am I still going to hate the snake? Yeah, but do I blame the snake? No, I don't blame the snake. That's what snakes do. I don't blame Russia. Like that's what Russians do. They've always done that. Russians hate Americans. Russian hates gays. And they're notoriously unfair in their crime sentencing and their punishments. Same with all of like Western Europe, Romania, all those places. Like, when you're locked up abroad, like you got to know that if you're going to fuck with things like that.
Place but the United States.
What's that?
Basically any place but the United States.
Yeah. I mean, you got to know. So this chick and this Andrew Tate guy, a lot of similarities. We're going to talk a lot about this tomorrow because I'm going to break down the whole totality of this girl on tomorrow's episode. We're going to break it all down and not to be an asshole. And not to like jump on the shaming bandwagon, but to kind of maybe use it as a learning opportunity so that other people, cops, first responders, kind of realize like, hey, let's not become a meme. Teach your kids to fuck up, right? Like we know kids are going to fuck up, right? My kids fuck up daily and that's okay, right? Maybe
it's part of life.
Fuck up and get a little DUI, but don't fuck up so bad that you get DUI and kill somebody. Don't go fuck up so bad that you go and become a mass shooter. Don't fuck up so bad that you become a meme known to the whole world. You know what I mean?
Well, how many people lost their jobs at that department? And
oh yeah,
I don't know about any other agency, but everybody's hurting for people.
Well, and here's the other thing about the department. We'll talk. I'm going to get more into it tomorrow. But departments love to burn each other down. They love to make a bigger deal out of something than it isn't. The spokeswoman of the chief coming out and saying like we're never going to regain the public's trust. That's all bullshit. Because the public trust doesn't give a fuck if some chick's fucking 5 dudes. Matter of fact, they celebrate it this time and age. Being a whore is something cool, right? Whore both ways. Being a guy and a girl whore. Like I'm not saying like just girls. I'm talking about just a man whore, a woman whore. Like it's kind of cool, right? Like no longer is putting a notch in your belt like something negative. I still live by the thing is it's still kind of negative. Like I know we have our temptations. Okay. I know that we're going to do things with other people that regret, but it shouldn't be something that you're proud of. You shouldn't just say, okay, well, I fucked up. And instead of feeling bad about fucking up, now what we're going to do is we're going to make it seem and feel right. We're going to justify it. And that's why I've always had a problem with justifying things. No, you should feel bad. That's called having a conscience. That's called having morals. It's called having discipline. Like you're supposed to feel bad when you cheat on your wife. Don't justify it by saying, well, I cheated on my wife because my wife doesn't do this or my wife doesn't do that or my husband doesn't do this. That's justifying it. That's trying to make yourself feel better. just because you have whorish thoughts, right? Like, we all do. Like, every single person has thoughts that are, probably should stay in your brain. Like, and you should feel bad for having those thoughts. You really should. Like, you shouldn't act on those impulses. Like,
deep down, you want to do two things: stay alive and make babies.
Fuck. Like, I'll fuck anything too. Like, I would fuck anything, as long as it's breathing. Not, as long as it's breathing and probably not an animal. I'm sure I could convince myself to fuck something. But I don't do it because I have discipline, because I have morals, because I have values. There's plenty of women that I could engage with at any given time. And I choose not to. Sometimes it's kind of hard, to be honest with you. In years past, like, every year is different. Luckily I have a beautiful wife and I have beautiful kids, so it's not hard now. But rewind 10 years ago. I mean, my wife is beautiful, but I didn't have any kids. And I was skinny and I was in shape. And there was girls hitting me up, first responders, people like cops. Now, thankfully, I never acted on those impulses. I know lots of cops who did. But you should feel bad about those behaviors. You should feel bad. You should want to have enough pride. Just like you take care of your body running, you should also take care of your relationships and not cheat on your significant others. You should be an honest human being. But that's just me. Let's jump into Andrew Tate. I don't know anything about the guy, but right off the bat, I will say I don't feel bad that the snake finally bit him, because he fucks with a lot of people. It looks like he fucks with a lot of people.
He's not exactly someone who shies away from leaning into controversy. He was a pretty okay kickboxer early on in his life. He over 80 fights, over 80 kickboxes. He had 76 wins and 9 losses. But then after that, he gets into Twitter, and a lot of the research looking for him. One of the, when I'm doing my research, I look at a bunch of different places, look at the headlines, and then I start digging a little bit further and I start trying to figure key things. And I want to know more about this specific thing. And I'll start Googling or looking. When it comes up for a lot of this stuff is you're finding things that are regurgitated. So you'll have 80 to 100, 200, 300 pages of the exact same article over and over and over again. So then it's hard to get back to the original stuff, because a lot of what has originally pissing people off is Twitter stuff.
And I think some of the things that he said, they have to be taken out of context, or this guy just generally is a piece of shit. But I don't like how they only put a forward sentence, like women belong in the kitchen. How many times have I said women belong in the kitchen as a fucking joke to be funny, because I do comedy? So I could be like, hey, Andre, get your ass back in the kitchen, girl. That's where you belong. Now, did I say women belong in the kitchen? Yeah, I did. But not in the context of I really do believe that women belong in the kitchen.
Yeah, I mean, he leans into it as soon as someone, because, he's of that mentality. There's no bad press. So any press is good press. So he'll lean into it. So as soon as he pisses someone off with something, he'll lean right back into it. And over the years, he has been investigated for some of his dealings. So back in 2017, was it 2017 or 2019? 2019, there was a 4-year-long investigation with the Crown Prosecution Service, or Persecution Service. This is the UK's investigative people. And they were investigating him because there had been 2 women that accused him of rape and another of repeated strangulation, which he denied. So they did a 4-year-long investigation, and, quote, it would be wrong to say there was just one issue, quote, end quote, with regard to the evidence. 3 of the women have said the case was mishandled, and the police found, quote, bad messages on the girls' phones, end quote.
But I mean, didn't somebody pee on somebody else in a bedroom? Who was that?
That was R. Kelly.
Yeah. Oh, but he was a piece of shit. Yeah, that's right. R. Kelly. But didn't Kobe Bryant do some crazy shit too?
Yeah, it was that was settled outside of court.
And what kind of crazy shit did Tiger Woods get into?
A lot of women.
Ben Roethlisberger, something like that with Ben Roethlisberger.
Something along those lines too.
maybe Kraft cheese guy that owns the Patriots.
All you gotta do is just stay the course.
I mean, there's a theme here, right? Like
Yep.
you start doing things morally and ethically questionable. And, had Andrew Tate not went and had sex with a fuck ton of women, like a Playboy.
Well, not only that,
and choked some of them that might have
videotapes it. He's there. Like some of them are like they're into that violent kind of stuff, but that's what they're into, and it's consensual.
Now, I will say that there are girls that like some really fucked up shit. Like, obviously before I was married, I may or may not have had relations with a woman or two that would ask me to do some questionable things. But here's the thing, though, is like that's why those relationships didn't last, because I don't do those kind of things that like choke me. I'm like,
you have to answer for that at some point.
I'm just not into it. Like, I don't want to choke you. Like, I'm glad that you like that. Me putting my hands on a girl's throat doesn't make me feel comfortable, and I think you should probably fix those demons that want you to get choked. But I mean, that's just me.
To each their own. But
to each their own. I don't kink shame. I'm just not. That's just not one thing I'm into. So I'm not gonna do it.
Some people put pineapple on pizza.
That's true. I love pineapple on my pizza. But my point is like if you're gonna have a whole bunch of partners, right, that are into nefarious kind of kinky shit, like get one partner that's into kinky shit and stay with her, then you don't have a problem. But I mean, you start fucking, like, what do you think this guy's body count is? 100?
At least.
Yeah. You don't think so? You don't think one of those 100 women are going to have a problem, or are going to be crazy enough to?
I don't know that. Like, everybody sees an opportunity to take advantage of stuff. So he has his own little like how to be a better man or do masculine, his little club that you pay money. This guy has a lot of money. I think they seized close to $4 million worth of assets and vehicles and stuff from him when he was in Romania. So he has all kinds of money, or he has the persona of money. Right. So if someone sees that they can, I can use this against you. Yeah, you can give me money, or I'm going to tell people that you did this to me. Or
Which is why I look so humble, right? I literally have a lot of money, but I try to look at this and I'm just kidding. I don't have any fucking money. But I wish I did.
I mean, because to tie into the other stuff that we've talked about, you just try to, is Andrew Tate another Epstein?
But yeah, that was my big question with this whole thing. Is now all of a sudden we give a fuck about a trafficker? Like, and now all of a sudden, and it's mainly comes from the Democrats, is that all of a sudden the Democrats want to know, like, and by the way, was like Epstein not like just like a bipartisan? Like, I don't understand how the Epstein thing became like a Democrat rally. Like,
because of receipts.
I kind of feel like it's a bipartisan thing. Like, we should be going after all these pieces of shit. Like, it's not just Biden that's a pedophile. It's not just Epstein that's a pedophile. It's not just Clinton that may or may not be a pedophile. You know what I mean? It's like, it could have been all of them. It could have been, who knows? It's not a left or right thing. But like now, like, because this guy is like super right wing, like now we care that he's a pedophile. Like now we give a shit because this is a right wing sex trafficker. I don't even know if he's pedophile or not, but sex trafficker, whatever it is, like now we care. What if we had that same amount of energy with the whole Epstein thing? And we don't, and don't say we do, because we don't. Because nobody from the right side has ever argued with me about the Epstein list. And if you go back through any of my Instagram posts of anything I did on Instagram, and you look at anybody who has anybody on there that's trying to defend Epstein or trying to make it a right or left thing, it's all people from the left.
Well, because then you have to think about, like, literally right now in time, running in parallel with this being in the news, you have 6 or 7, maybe 8 different Twitter files, like 30 to 40 different long, 8 of these, 10 of these, a lot of these that have been coming out that none of the news is talking about. But they're talking all about this. They won't talk about the other stuff.
Yeah. But they weren't talking about it when Epstein did his shit. Let's talk about that for 5 minutes and let's move on real fucking quick.
Because at the end of the day, who pays the bills? Who keeps those lights on?
Right. It's the Epsteins. It's the fucking Weinsteins.
Is it the Tates?
Maybe.
Is Intel? Because
well, obviously it's not the Tates because they're going after him. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to go after anybody that doesn't fit the narrative. Or that fits the narrative perfectly, actually.
Or that stopped going with the plan.
Right.
Or is no longer useful to them anymore.
Right. Need a distractor. I mean, is it a coincidence that he was in a Twitter battle with Greta Thunberg? Like, how did this bitch get so much power?
Because you get keywords that people will get behind, and then you just need a couple of places to push stuff.
How dare you? Oh God, she's repulsive. If that was my daughter, I would not show her off to the world.
If you were, at 16 years old, think back when you were 16 years old. Did you know about the world?
No, no shit.
Did you think that I have the answers? This. I couldn't figure out my algebra homework at 16.
Yeah.
Let alone working on, and I'll be 40 next year. Almost 40 years on this earth. We've talked about climate stuff how many times?
Right.
Something's going to have to happen. Old man yells at trees.
Well, now they pushed climate back change. Like that the little hole in the earth is now supposed to be stable in 30 years.
All the ozone from all the, because
so we're back to being okay again.
Because when it was elementary school, it was you can't use hairspray, because that was hairspray was the 90s, and it was all the hairspray was causing the ozone to go away.
Yeah. Very strange times that we're living in. But now this Andrew Tate guy, right?
Yep.
So he was a kickboxer. Then he got how did he go from kickboxing to getting famous? Like just making TikToks or something? Just being
he did some stuff with Big Brother, but then they pulled him because they said he made homophobic and racist comments on Twitter. But when I'm looking through, I've looked through my articles, and then I'm referencing a lot of Wikipedia here, because it's summarized all of the BS, but it's all BS. So
thank you, because I was trying to look at what he said and then go back and find the context. Doesn't exist.
You can't.
It says he says women belong in the kitchen, and then but there's no okay. So if you go to type in Hunter Biden or something, and it's it might say Hunter Biden said that the laptop word is going to be in blue. And then you can click on that, and then it'll tell you all about the laptop thing. And then there'll be other blue keywords that you could keep going down these rabbit holes that kind of, can give you information that you're looking for. This one has no blue thing. So you can't reference. There's no point of reference for any of what he said. So I could not physically go back and try to figure out, what did this guy say, other than everybody telling me to hate him and telling me that he's a chauvinistic, misogynistic pig. There's no proof of it. I can't go back and find proof. Why can't I go? Why would you not link it back to the complete article? Unless the article was not true.
Or if it was this one thing out of context, then we'll just take it and we'll just let the snowball run.
Yeah. I'm
not saying this guy
misogynistic, but I have a lot of personal views that probably would say, I think if you want to have a really nice household, that there are certain things that you can do to have a perfect household. And if you want to abide by those things, it's just like if you want to get skinny, you have to do a really shitty diet to get skinny. Sorry. There's no other magical potion behind it. And I feel like if you want to have a really successful marriage and raise certain children, then you have to do things that might not be quite fair. And I don't say those things out loud because people will call me misogynistic. Me and my wife just personally live by those values in our own home. And that's why we have a marriage that works out well. Other people have to work a little bit harder at their marriage or work a little bit harder at parenting because they don't do the things that my wife and I do. That's okay. But they get to have things that my wife and I don't either. Boats and cool shit and bigger houses and whatever, So, to each their own. I'm not going to get out here and preach. This guy, though, preached it. And when you preach it, you're going to catch some backlash for it. I just like to be an example. I just live by example. I'm not going to tell you how to raise your kids. I'm not going to tell you how to raise your family, how to be, a good husband. I'll give you some hints here and there. I just do it. I just live by the things that I believe you should do. And when somebody asks me, hey man, why is it that you and your wife have this kind of relationship? When people see us working together at the distillery and they say, man, you guys are together all the time. How are you guys always so chill with each other? Well, I'll answer that for them, but I'm not going to go out and preach it to the world, because then you're going to call me misogynistic, or you're going to call me fucking whatever,
There's a saying that I use in the light, because I do a lot of stuff with emergency lighting, and then people will tag me and stuff to explain stuff. And I always use this quote all the time. There's a reason that bees don't explain to flies why honey doesn't taste like shit.
Right.
Like, you could explain it to people, but like, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make it drink, kind of thing.
Yep.
Unless people really want, but what do they want? Do they want that, or do they want the illusion of stuff? Because you can have the illusion, because like Andrew Tate, I mean, the illusion on the outside, he makes all kinds of money and he's this great guy and he has all these women that want after him. But is he happy? Is he going to be able to answer for these things?
He's constantly fighting a war. He's constantly fighting a battle because he's pissing people off all the time. I don't know. Because I don't know, man. I think
lives in Romania. Why would you live in Romania? No, I'm not dogging on Romania, but
probably because you could probably get hookers and do whatever the fuck you want in Romania, I would guess.
Things are a little bit more relaxed there, or there's less eyes on him there, or there'd be more eyes on him here. I mean,
yeah,
there's more questions.
I mean, I'm sure he's doing some nefarious shit. I just wish we could know. I just wish that you could link back to these articles, and it really makes me question why you cannot bring it back to these articles. Why can't I listen to his interviews of him being a dirtbag? And if you got one, send it to me. And not just an article that says, well, he said this. I want to hear the interview of him saying that exact thing, all in context. I want the whole thing. But I couldn't find it. I didn't really spend a lot of time. But I tell you, I went through like the first 2 or 3 Google pages, every keyword that I searched, and it just doesn't exist.
Because it's all recent. You don't find anything old.
Right.
Even if you go back and you try to find stuff that's old, it's the internet's it's a funny place trying to search for stuff sometimes. But
yeah, but lesson to be learned though is, had Andrew Tate had a couple of morals and some ethics and some values, he wouldn't be mainstream news. Same with that chick in Tennessee. Had she had some kind of moral compass, she's had some kind of ethics. And for all you women out there and guys who are sticking up for this chick, dude, I'm embarrassed for you. I'm embarrassed for you. If that was your daughter, then you're a shitty parent. If your daughter ends up being like that, then you fucked up as a parent, because that's not healthy. That's not healthy behavior at all. To go into that kind of environment and put yourself out to that many people, ruining marriages, ruining careers, and you think that that's okay, then you're sick and dejected. And I feel bad. I mean, I feel bad for you and your kids, you should raise your kids to be the opposite of that. Your kids should have the confidence and the pride in themselves that themselves are not just for everybody to fuck, that you're not just some glorified group of holes that dudes can lust over and fuck, and that you can manipulate other people. And you should raise your sons not to, get so boned up when they see a girl who's willing to spread her legs for them.
And then as your B partners, you need to be on your B partners.
You should be thinking about serving and protecting.
It's a two-way street.
It is a two-way street. 100% a two-way street.
She didn't do these things by herself. There are 5 or 6 other people that are involved.
And they should all, yeah, that's true. But I also kind of think that in the same token, she went after 5 dudes. These dudes, there's no proof that they went after 5 women.
She's the common denominator.
She's the common denominator. Like if a Delilah goes and seduces Samson, and then she goes and seduces some other guy and seduces other guy, all those guys may not have committed those sins had they not been seduced by this one woman. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And they still have to walk away.
I'm not saying that these guys are good guys, but because they should have better discipline. And look, I don't feel sorry for any of them. Like, all these motherfuckers should be, memed out. Like, I'm fine with it, dude. Like, keep the memes going. I don't feel like, what if they kill themselves? Well, I mean, if their skin's that soft, if they can't look at what they did and be like, well, now I'm a meme. Damn. But fuck it. I'm going to repent. I'm going to do better. And I'm not going to do this. Then good on them. But I don't feel sorry for any of them. I don't feel sorry for the dudes. I mean, the one dude got his ass whooped by his wife. Good. If I cheat on my wife, I hope my wife beats the shit out of me. I hope my son beats the shit out of me. And I know that, the one thing that's keeping me, that will keep me going forward from ever doing it. And I've never cheated on my wife or anything like that, but, and I have confidence that I won't, because like, I know that I could not look, if I do that, there's no way that I could come home and look at my kids in the face, because I teach my kids to be a certain way. And I would feel like such a loser that I couldn't live up to the same expectation that I'm putting on my children. And I know that I would have to come clean by it. I'd have to say, this is what I did. I'd have to disclose what I had done to them. So
the only way to build trust again is to let it all out, though.
Yeah. So I can't do that, I mean, it's crazy world. I think the moral of the story, and we can all learn from it, is we've got to get back to some kind of morals and some kind of ethics. Like, you got to know, okay, hey, listen, I shouldn't fuck people in my workplace. Shouldn't do it. If I work with somebody, I know the Disney love stories tell you that you should do it. No, then fucking quit. If it's that important to you, if love is going to prevail, then quit your job. If you don't quit your job, then it's not love. But don't mix your work life with your sex life. Don't do it.
The amount of people that I could, like, because I watch a lot of YouTube, so a lot of couples do like the coupley stuff on YouTube. They're only together doing that stuff for like a year or two.
Yeah.
Like you need to be together, but you need separation. There's a balance.
Yeah,
that needs to be.
It's not healthy. It's not healthy lifestyles. It's not healthy behavior. But look, I mean, listen, and I'm not saying because you do it, you're a piece of shit. I'm not saying that, because listen, I get it. Like, we all have these demons that we have to fight with. If it's not prescription pills, if it's not lust, if it's not pornography, if it's not cheating on your wife, if it's not, shooting up heroin, if it's not your anger management. I mean, everybody's got something they got to work through. What I'm saying is that when you stop trying to work through it and you accept it, that's when you become a piece of shit. When you just accept that this is who I am, and you do nothing to work on it, and you're not sorry for it, and you're trying to justify it, just know that you're becoming a piece of shit. You're doing piece of shit stuff. You should always be working on being better. You should always look inside yourself and say, damn, I could get better. It's just like with me being fat. Like, I can't have 5 kids and live a life that may or may not give me a heart attack in the next 10 years. I want to be alive for these 5 kids. And for me, I don't have the discipline to not eat cookies. I have to cut myself off. I have to come up with a diet that says, this is going to really suck, but it's the only way to do it. Because you don't have the fucking discipline to just have 1 bite of chocolate for the day, 1 scoop of ice cream for the day, or have 1 hamburger. I'm the kind of guy that goes to McDonald's and I get a number 1 with an extra cheeseburger on the side. What the fuck do you need an extra cheeseburger on the side? I mean, but that's me. I fucking love food, man. But anyway, Andrew Tate. Glad I know.
I got one for going into the weekend for us, or
okay,
going in.
Give it to me.
So I got a buddy that he's adopted, and he works for a company that does some cool stuff.
Okay.
And in talking with a couple of his the people that he works with, they had something came up. They were talking about an old folks home, and he brought it up to me about nicknames.
Yes.
Things that, like, if you say that specific thing, people in the circle that know just know. Nobody else has any idea. So his one was the retirement home was called Leisure Lanes. Now it sounds like a bowling alley to me, but they called it, the nickname they called it was a fossil farm.
Heading to the old fossil farm. So you're going to Leisurely Lanes if you say I'm going to the fossil farm.
So when the medics go to pick people up and they're going over to the fossil farm, you just know. It got to the point where I guess they had to change the name of the place because I guess it was in the community and all this other fun stuff. So he asked me.
Meat wagon. The meat wagon is the ambulance.
The meat wagon, stab and grab.
Stab and grab. Yeah, that's a good one. Everybody knows the stab and grab in their area. That's the mini mart. So, okay, here's the call to action, I'm guessing, is where you're going with this. Yep. On our Instagram on Last Call, which is managed mostly by Deadleg. I post about once or twice a week on there. But go in there, send us a DM or tag us in a message of something that you have a nickname for that only your group, your squad kind of knows. I'll give you an example. We had a South African white guy on our squad, and our captain was a black guy. And when the South African from South Africa came to our squad, our black captain said, finally, we have a token African on the squad. And so this guy whose name was Johan went by token for the rest of his career, so much so that when he had a wedding and everybody went to the wedding, none of the wives knew that his name wasn't token. They were like, why? Who's Johan? Like, that's the dude that's getting married. They're like, I thought Token was getting married. And we're like, Token is his nickname. And they're like, what? Oh my God. Did you know? Like, nobody knew. But if Token was going to the call, you had your token African. And if anybody said they want a black officer, we would always say, do you want an African officer? Is that what you're saying? You want an African officer? And they're like, yeah, give me an African officer. Give me an African-American officer. And I'd be like, you sure you want an African-American officer? Well, I want an African-American officer right now. And you'd be like, yo, let me get Token over here. And they'd be like, oh, you racist motherfucker, calling him Token, blah, 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 blah. And then a white guy shows up and he starts speaking in Afrikaan. You'd be like, well, here's our African-American, like straight out of fucking Africa, dude. And they would just be like, yeah. And our captain loved it. Of course, he was a black guy. Super huge hippie, though. Big Grateful Dead fan. Smoked a lot of pot when he retired. Hilarious. Went to Amsterdam, moved to like fucking like the Outer Andaks in New York. This guy was savage. Cool. One of the best captains of all time. I have no idea how he made it to captain, but he was the best. He was the GOAT. I really enjoyed that. I won't say his name because I like him that much. But all right. So what are some nicknames that you have in your local beat, in your local area?
It started in high school, then I carried it with me to a couple places that I worked. When you were in a room or a briefing room or in a room with several people and you just say South Carolina, you just know. Everybody knows that you need to move away from you because you just dropped a good one in your pants.
Ooh, little pootsies.
Yep. Silent but deadly. But that's the way to let people know that no.
Yeah, so whenever we did something stupid, we said, oh, you pulled a Santana. And I'm just kidding. Santana was my training officer, more or less like a mentor. I'm just kidding, Santana. Please don't hurt me. No, send us your DMs. Let us know what your nicknames. Maybe it's like you're not a first responder, but you've got something at work. Maybe call it the meat locker, or give me the Casey Anthony. Or no, give me the Tanya Harding. That might be your mallet or the hammer. I don't know. Everybody's got some kind of nickname. Let us hear about it. Guys, that was such a fun episode of Last Call of the Day. Make sure you tune in tomorrow night for the Comm Center and Friday show, The Breakdown. Probably one of our most important breakdowns of 2023 so far. If you want to throw an extra bone to me and support the children, go over to Grommet Vomit podcast, GROMMET VOMMIT, Grommet Vomit podcast. The kids interviewed Dave Duncan, who announcer for the X Games, announcer for the Olympics, one of the original Dogtown and Z-Boys. He was one of the daggers in real life and one of the daggers in the movie Thrashin'. And so, guy was a legend. And then they have Jared Taylor from Black Rifle Coffee Company and Drinking Bros on today. They had Rob Machado, national champion. I mean, these kids are getting guests that are so big, the biggest names in action sports, and the whole thing is for kids. So if you have children, it's a kid-friendly show, but leave them a rating and review, even if you don't want to hear it. It would really help them. They really want to make the charts. So go to Grommet Vomit on iTunes and leave those guys a 5-star rating review. Leave Failure to Stab a rating and review while you're over there, because we really need it. We want to make the charts too. But podcasting is really becoming my living. And so hopefully we'll see you guys at Instill Distilling Company in April. More to come on that soon. Deadleg, as always, dude.
Guns
You're
up.
a fucking boss. Oh, we have Corrine Tatum next Wednesday.
Oh.
I'll probably bring you on too, though, because you're kind of becoming a staple. Might just bring you in just for a little bit, just for a news update. Then I'm going to jump into some Corrine Tatum shit. Or maybe you can do some research of your own on Corrine Tatum and Brandon Tatum. We can make it a banger of a show. If you're willing, if you're willing and able. I don't want to choke you without your consent.
I'll look. I've got the Dave Chappelle consent form. I'll send you.
Send me the Dave Chappelle consent form. Yeah, Corrine Tatum, Brandon Tatum's wife. He's another guy that pokes the bear, but he does it in a good way with morals, ethics, and values, and it's working out pretty good. He just got his own radio show, all sorts of shit. So, and she's a fucking star. She's a wonder mom. She's a super mom, super wife. And so we're excited to have Corrine Tatum on next week. And okay, until next time, guys. Imperial Girl in the live chats, Daniel B, James Russell, Tactical Dude, Immer 530, Teresa K, as always, seducing us with those eyes. Her little profile picture has these beautiful set of eyes. It's really all you can see in the small little bubble, but it's kind of like one of those billboards on 95, the exotic eyes. Oh, Come into the exotic shop. Look at my eyes.
The lion's
You can
den.
really see into her soul. But you can't look into her soul if you're not part of the paid member group because she's in the paid chats here. James Russell, Hydroman Blue, all you guys, love you guys so much. Thanks for tuning in. If I missed you, I apologize. There's just a lot of you guys in the chats today. Anyway, until next time, guys, Davey, Jake, Jason Kiefer, all those guys. Guns up.
Giddy up.